welcome to this edition of Michael's Weekly Perspective Podcast. This is podcast episode 67. In this podcast, Katy and I will continue our discussion about her life, and then at the end, Brookelyn Raulerson will show off her new single called Truly Unique. That is all for this edition, and stay tuned. Hello, it's so great to be back with you once again on this edition of Michael's Weekly Perspective Podcast. This is podcast episode 67. October is once again almost over. By the time this podcast is released, it's going to be Sunday, October 23rd, 2022. That means Halloween is literally 8 days away. Can't you believe time travels this quick? I don't have anything planned during Halloween. I'm just going to stay at home, eating candy, and watching other kids in the neighborhood trick-or-treating. What is your plan during Halloween? Drop your comments below if you're watching this on YouTube, or otherwise, send me an email to munnmichael68@gmail.com. That's munnmichael68@gmail.com. Or you can also give me a call at 404-923-0115. That's 404-923-0115.
The Innervisions Radio Network brings you the Ultimate Praise Party with DJ G-Fire. Bringing you 2 hours of upbeat gospel from around the world. Heard each and every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 to 7 p.m. Central, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific. Special features include the Scripture of the Week, your listener requests, and we hit the decks, giving you the Power Mix. Don't you miss the Ultimate Praise Party each and every Wednesday from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 to 7 p.m. Central, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific with DJ G-Fire on the Innervisions Radio Network. Seeing with your ears.
Hello. Do you love The Echo? Well, good news! We've got a show for you. The Echo Show. To tell you more, here's Robin.
Thanks, Sean. Let's have a flavour of what's in store.
Yes, I'm ready. What? Was that a joke? Oh, I always love the escape room ones. Let's go with that.
Okay, good. Good choice. Ominous.
You are on the street. You have 0 gold coins.
This is one of my favourite skills. Just look at what you had there.
Hello, my name's Pete and this is my pub quiz. Next up, history. This is a royal question. Gotta love the royals in cha.
Yeah.
We're gonna demo them and we're gonna rate them with our thumbs, apparently. So that's good. I can't wait. And if you still want to listen after hearing that, then please stay tuned. The
Echo
Show.
Last week, I had a very thorough interview with Katherine Chavarria. During the first part of our discussion, Katy talked about her family and how did she got a guide dog. Today, Katy and I will continue our discussion. During today's podcast, Katy will talk about her YouTube channel and how did she started producing TikTok videos as well. Katy, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
You mentioned you use a lot of social medias, and that made me wanted to get into your YouTube channel. So when did you started producing YouTube videos?
YouTube, I started, I want to say like 7 years ago, like 2015, 2016. But YouTube is a little harder for me only because, obviously like I'm not at the level where I have my own editor and my producer and my recorder and, so my husband's the one that helps me do the videos and obviously he's the one that works. So YouTube was kind of hard just because it is it's very time consuming, with recording and then also having to edit. So it was very time consuming. But I just started doing TikTok. I think it's been a year since August. And that seems to be a lot more convenient and easier just because it's literally like very short clips. There's not really much editing and it can be literally just anything. Like I have videos from how I made my baby's bottle to, how I cook breakfast, how I, make coffee, how I walk down the, like little comedy ones on how I walk down the stairs, or just random questions that people have, like if I have vision memory, how I became blind. So it's so much more easier. Um, so that's the where I'm more active is on TikTok, on Instagram, and Facebook page. My YouTube, I'm not so active on it as much anymore for that reason, because I don't have somebody that's able to, be a full-time job and this content creating career. So at least not now.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. And as a podcaster, I don't have to deal with what's on my screen. But,
Yeah.
sometimes when I'm producing a podcast and I have to literally go it piece by piece just to create a decent and audible podcast. Sometimes Facebook, especially when you're in the video section, and
Yes.
they're floating videos, as I would use when you scroll up and down. They're like videos that never goes end. And that's where I found you.
Okay.
When you were basically showing people, how to identify your surrounding when you're sitting at the table. That was 5 days ago.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's where I put my videos too on Facebook. Honestly, my main goal it is for people who are sighted, like how I mentioned earlier, Michael. It's like I want to break that barrier and just expose them and educate people. So that way, when the moments come where they do come across someone who's visually impaired or whatever, like they don't have to feel so awkward, or not just awkward, but they don't have to be afraid or nervous about what to ask, what to say, how do you approach them. So I just kind of want to, I don't know, just build that relationship with my audience so that way they're being educated. And then on the other hand, I want to inspire other people who are vision impaired, because there's some people that whatever disability they have, not just blindness, sometimes you do feel like you're not able to do anything. I feel like it's harder when you lose your sight at a later age in life, because you're so used to depending on your eyes or whatever other thing it is. And now you don't have that anymore. Like your life completely changes. So I hope that I'm able to inspire other people who have a disability, or even parents who have children. And sometimes you worry, like, is my child going to be independent? Is my child going to be able to have a normal life? Because I know that's something my mom, worried about. And I know that's something if I didn't have a disability and I had a child who did, like, I would worry about that if I didn't have somebody that I can see as an example. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. It's well said. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think it's okay. I know sometimes it's the reality. People worry. People feel like they're not able to do anything. And I think it's okay to understand that if a parent has a child with a disability and they're worried they're going to be dependent, it's understandable if you've never seen that around. And I feel like sometimes, as I've seen in groups, on Facebook and stuff, that sometimes people with a disability get very upset or offended with others who don't have a disability, ask questions about it or feel like they're incapable. And I'm a person that I like to see both sides, so I understand how sometimes I get questions asked. I'm like, like I get people saying, why do you have a phone? Like, why not? Just because I'm blind, I can't have a phone. But then again, I get it. They depend so much on, for example, being able to see, that they're like, what the heck? How will I ever be able to do anything without being able to see? So I get both sides. That's why I try to be compassionate with both communities, or all different types of communities when it comes to disability and not having disability, and parents, who have kids with disability and who don't. So yeah.
That's interesting. I also saw one of your YouTube video. You were introducing your husband. I think it's one good thing that inclusion starts when your significant other is willing to accept that.
Yes.
Is your husband also visually impaired?
He's sighted. And it's funny because, I always get stuff like that on my, on my content. The fact that my husband is sighted, and I'm visually impaired, like I get silly things, silly comments, about it. And it's lack of knowledge, lack of education, like lack of exposure for people. But yeah, my husband is fully sighted, and we do have a daughter. She turned 1 back in June, and she's also sighted. So I'm the only blind one in my family, and all sides of the family.
Oh, same here. I'm the only person with a vision impairment in the family, so every time when there is a modification in the house, I have to be notified. But even
Yes.
with the notification in advance, sometimes when I'm not paying attention, I still run into a gate or anything like that.
Hey, I hear you.
Just like my sister put a gate in between kitchen and the living room. She notified me, but sometimes when I'm just wanted to quickly go somewhere, I ran into it.
Yeah.
That happened like many times.
That happens to me, or sometimes like I know where something is, but I'm going so fast, so I'm not thinking about it. I don't realize how close I am to it, and I end up like running into it. But it's the whole like out of sight, out of mind. Yeah, you told me I don't see it, but I'm used to doing it this way, so I totally forgot that you told me that was there now.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So slow down is one of the words that I was being constantly told because in school, I use a 65-inch long white cane that's like body length. So I was able
Right.
to walk fast, and constantly they were telling me to slow down, the teachers and the staffs.
Oh,
Oh, yes. And that's one thing about having a long cane is that you were able to walk fast. And people
yeah.
who's, in your way, you could just, not trying to be mean or anything, you can just whack them, telling them to get out of your
Yeah.
way.
It's funny because when I was in middle school, kids actually liked when I would whack them with my cane if they would be in the way. So it was like a little game, but it wasn't anything like it wasn't like a mean game. It was something that I didn't mind too, just because I just for me it was like, hey, like, they think this is cool. So so we would have your kids, kids like getting whacked and everything.
Oh, yes.
So they definitely had fun with my cane when I was in middle school. Even though, you shouldn't use it that way, but hey, they were my friends, so.
Oh, yes. There are several occasions where I, treated my cane as a golf club. And oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Yeah, you know nothing, especially when you're
Nope.
13, 14, and 15 years old.
Exactly.
Are you mainly rely on hearing or you're a braille reader?
Hearing now, so I am a Braille reader. I know how to read Braille, but I mean, everything is just audio now, like everything is just your phone. Um, I think even for sighted people, it's like, who really has books when you have like Kindles and Audible and like everything, like everything is just switching over to computers. So, definitely everything's audio. I think the only thing I read in Braille is I do have one baby book in Braille that I was gifted for my daughter. And then I do have Braille on my washer. But other than that, yeah, like there's not really Braille in my life as much anymore.
Oh, yes. Yeah, since computer is easy to obtain. And
Yeah, and then I'm
nowadays,
not in school, so I'm not in school anymore. So
oh yeah, and especially braille displays can be another factor to why braille is not being used.
yeah, actually, that you bring up the Braille display. So I would read Braille in the Braille display when I was working with the computer. I did have a Braille display, which was very helpful because it helped me move so much more faster, and I'd be able to skim through faster than skimming with JAWS. Skimming with JAWS. So
Oh yes, and it also gives you a privacy when you're
yeah,
working solo beside the screen curtain in JAWS. Having a braille display connected can be another great thing. At least it can be separated from other blind fellows who's
yeah.
listen at the same speed as you.
Blind people can listen very well. So
Oh yes, yeah. When I'm working solo, making my show notes for my podcast, I tend to have my JAWS set to 75% because I want to get it done and, get it published.
yeah.
It is something. And I'm truly amazed how you're able to do a lot of things based on your YouTube videos. Like I saw one day you were in a trampoline park, going through obstacle course.
Oh yes. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I love doing um stuff like that. So it's helpful. Obviously, I had my husband was with me, and his family was actually we went with his family. Um, so it was pretty neat. I mean, they just describe each obstacle course before I went through it. So once I finished one, they would describe the other one. Even though at the bottom it was a ball pin that you fall into so you wouldn't get hurt. But I don't know about you, Michael, but me, like, even though I know that it's a ball pin and I know that it's safe, it's still scary knowing I could fall into it just because I can't see it. Like, so it's still, I think that fear of not wanting to fall helped me get through the obstacle course. There was one part um, that I stepped off one course to and start the other one, but I stepped so far that I actually ended up falling in. But yeah, I love doing little challenges like that. They're fun for me. They make me feel like a kid. So
Oh, yes. And I don't know if you know those training centers affiliated with the National Federation of the Blind during the students' training months. One of the things that they would do is to take students out to rock climbing and obstacle courses. So this way they can educate that as long as you put your mind into it, you can achieve this.
I love that. I didn't know that. I love that, and that's so awesome. That's such a whoever from the FB came up with that. That is such an amazing and impactful idea. So that's awesome.
Oh, yes. The three affiliated centers in Louisiana, Colorado, and Minnesota. The one that I'm going to, if everything is right, will be in Minnesota.
That's awesome. Well, definitely take the opportunity, Michael, and I hope it all works out for you. That would be such a great experience and such a great opportunity. And that's a cool thing about I feel like it has its perks having this disability, and I think one of the cool things is that you have opportunities like that. Like Voc Rehab, helped with like my college. So it has its perks, like I said, and sometimes I feel like as someone who's visually impaired, when you have a disability, when you have perks like that, it's always good to know what resources are available and take advantage of them. Just because some other people don't have them, and if you had opportunity, why not?
Oh, yes. That's very well said. So we're about to get to the end of this podcast. I have a tradition when I invite a guest over to my show. When we're towards the end of the podcast, I would ask my guest whether they have any advice to share to my listeners. It could be everything on, how to be a productive person with a vision impairment, or how to start producing your first YouTube video. So, Katy, do you have any advice to share to my listeners?
So I think my advice would be that it's okay to get help. I know sometimes we don't want to ask for help because we want to feel like very independent. I've been there before, and to this day, sometimes I find myself in that situation. So I just want to give advice. Like if you need help, it's okay to ask for help. And I also just want to educate that there's so many resources to help with people who have disabilities. So sometimes all you got to do is just take that one step to make the effort. It's kind of like going to the gym. I don't go to the gym anymore, but when I used to go, it's thinking about going to the gym is like so dreadful, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's a lot of work. But once you're there, it feels good, and once you're done, it feels even better. So my advice is whatever you want to do, it might seem dreadful, it might seem impossible, it might seem hard, it might seem like a lot of work, and it probably is going to be a lot of work, especially if you do have a disability. But once you're doing it, you're gonna, even if you fail, even though if it's hard while you're doing it, the fact that you're doing it is gonna make you feel good. And once you get through it, because you can get through it, you're gonna feel so much more further in life. So, that's my advice, to just get up and do it. Whatever you want to do in your heart, whether it's, creating content or looking for a job, or even starting to go out for a walk because you need to get fresh air. Like, don't allow your disability to hold you back from what you want to do, because it can be done. maybe differently, maybe with help, but at the end of the day, as long as it's done, that's all that matters.
Oh yes, speaking of job finding, now it is even easier for blind people or people with vision impairment. All they gotta do is get on NFB Newsline and start reading about job listings.
Yeah, especially with everything being remote. And that was one thing that was so hard for me, Michael. Really quick, I know we're coming towards the end, but all through school, high school, college, anything I wanted to do, Michael, I did. I was a cheerleader in high school. I did cross country in middle school. I started my own organization in college. Like whatever I wanted to do, I did because my resources like were there and available. I hit the real world and it was reality for me. Looking for a job was so hard for me. I would get interviews and I wouldn't get the job. And obviously they're not allowed to discriminate. But I knew they were discriminating. Like they're not going to say it because, jobs are not allowed to, but like I know it was because I was blind because I know I qualified. My resume was great. I know I'm very well at interviews. So it was hard. Reality was very hard, but I didn't stop. I had to keep looking and, maybe it wasn't what I wanted at the time, but it helped me gain skills. I got a job. It helped me pay the bills. It helped me gain skills. It helped me make relationships. And even within the job, I pushed up and kept moving positions, so that way, maybe it wasn't my dream job, but it wasn't a job that I hated and it was a job that I was happy with. So, but now I love what I'm doing. So like I mentioned, I'm on TikTok, very active on TikTok. So you can follow me as Katy's Eyes. That's KATYSEYES. So definitely find my social media. And yeah, that's where I am now in life. So hopefully it gets me somewhere.
Oh yes, most definitely. So even with the discrimination in place, in fact, you did turn lemon into lemonade. And that's what I hear people say. It's great, that you take your time today and have a chat with me. And I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much, Michael. I had a good time and I appreciate you inviting me on the podcast and giving me an opportunity to speak to you. And, I'm so excited for you, Michael. I'm so excited for what's coming for you. I hope everything works out well with the training and the college and you will love London. So I really, hoping and praying that it all works out well for you, Michael. So I'm excited for your future.
Oh, yes. And most definitely. You're just like me. I'm just like you. So what if I don't do things the same as you do? Yet I'm strong, though I'm not weak. I may not be perfect, but I am truly unique. The lyrics from a song called Truly Unique that was sung by Brookelyn Raulerson. This song truly expressed us blind people. We can do the same thing as those people with vision, except sometimes we need adaptations on tasks that we cannot do. 2 weeks ago, when I was taking an Uber from my house to Atlanta to attend the NFB of Georgia State Convention, the driver asked me how I booked the car, and I told him I use an iPhone with a screen reader called VoiceOver, and then I started to demonstrate how VoiceOver worked on my iPhone. He was truly amazed how I can do stuff. It was a great conversation that he started by asking me how I booked his car, and off I went. Anyway, take some time and listen to this great composition that was written by my friend, Miss Brookelyn Raulerson. You can find this song on Apple Music, YouTube, and Spotify, wherever you get your song. Thank you once again, Brookelyn, for giving me permission to play this piece. Thank you once again for listening to this podcast, and thanks again, Katy, for taking your time and showed up to the studio and have a chat with me. That is all for this edition of Michael's Weekly Perspective Podcast, and thanks for listening.
Listen, no matter what you're going through, remember, be all that you can be. Be the thermostat in the room and not the thermometer. Check this out. Can't, never, could, do nothing. Sing it.
Call me disabled. Tell me I'll never be successful. Tell me I won't amount to anything. Tell me that I'm not special. just like